College is now the biggest scam in the world. It was built for a time that doesn't exist anymore. Derek Harper. DZ Tribe Josh Thomas. Speaking of college, hey, I have nothing against college. I went to college. I graduated from college, and I was very proud of that achievement. In fact, my mom decided to go to college when I was in high school, and she was one of the first people in our family to actually finish college and get a degree. And so I was bummed that I couldn't beat her and be the first, but I was happy for her, and she set a good example. And so I have a degree in music, of all things, and I really loved that, and I really enjoyed it. But I'm wondering, did I really need to go through all of that time and preparation and expense in order to prepare me for life? And I'm not so sure about that anymore. So much so that I have, since a young age, for my daughter, I have shared with her, hey, look, college is optional. If you don't want to go to college, don't worry about it. If you do, great. Just make sure that you have a really strong reason to actually go and that you can get something out of it that you can't get anywhere else. And I've been planting that seed saying, hey, I support this, but it's not mandatory. And she's currently 15, and I heard her utter in her kind of under her breath at one point, yeah, I'm not really sure if I want to go to college. It really has to make sense in order for me to do it. She was taking my influence and using her own words and her own thoughts, which was a really great moment for me. But I want to talk about why that quote was so important to share on this episode. First of all, I saw this on Facebook. It's a guy in one of my mastermind groups. I don't think we've actually met, but I saw him post this, and I'm like, you know what? You're right. I've always agreed with that, and so I decided to lead with it. And that leads me into my topic about measure once, cut twice. For those of you who have grown up around, a father figure of some sort that was handy with tools, you probably heard somewhere along the way, you heard something about, well, measure twice, cut once. And it's a great philosophy. It's kind of what it does is it finds a quick and easy way to say, well, just make sure that you know what you're going to do before you do it. Because if you're going to cut a board and you didn't cut it right because you didn't measure it right, well, you can't uncut the board. It's already been cut. And you're right about that if you're talking about a board. But I don't know that that necessarily applies to life, because life is not a wooden plank. Life is not this stiff object that is unfixable or unadjustable. Once we make a cut in life, if we made the wrong cut, we can just get up and make another one, really. But what happens is this measure twice, cut once philosophy, it kind of gets us into this trap of analysis paralysis. Well, I'm not sure if I'm ready to cut it yet. Maybe I should measure it again. Maybe the second measurement's going to give me a different answer. Have you ever heard that before? Have you ever thought that before? Have you ever read a book about entrepreneurship or starting a business, or some kind of sales training or marketing or how to grow or scale your business, and thought, okay, this seems legit. I think I could apply this. I don't know, though. Maybe I should go and read a couple more books just to be sure. Maybe I should read and listen to a couple more podcasts just to be sure. Measure twice, cut once. What it really is in life, maybe that happens in carpentry, okay? But what really happens in life is measure twice, cut once, is measure twice, measure twice. Measure twice. Measure twice, you're dead. You never actually make the cut because you're too busy measuring. So I want to suggest that you stop measuring. Well, go ahead and give it a cursory measurement just to make sure that you don't chop a finger off or something. to make sure that it's roughly the right size. But go ahead and cut that bastard. And once you cut it, then you can take a look at it and say, well, it's close enough. You know what? I'm going to work with it. Or, no, I'm not sure if that's going to work for me. I need to make another cut. Or, I ruined this. I'm just going to have to go and get another board. But that's fine, because what it does is it creates expediency, and it creates progress, and it creates results. Because measuring doesn't produce a result. The cut produces a result. And so the more time you spend measuring, the less time that you're spending cutting. The more time you're spending contemplating and thinking about your next move, the less time you spend making that actual move. And that making of the move, cutting the board, that's action. Action is the only thing that's going to create a result. So even if you measure once and you make a cut, and that's the wrong cut, guess what? That cut produced a result. You are now ahead of the guy that's still measuring. Okay? Two people standing next to each other. One of them is measure twice, cut once. One of them is measure once, cut twice. All right? Cool. So the first act, everybody measures. All right? Here's my measurement. There's his measurement. The second act, I'm going to make a cut. And his act, he's going to measure again. Okay? Well, what if my cut was right? Now I'm done. Now I'm ahead of you. I'm beating you. I win in that situation because I produced a result. All you did was repeat yourself. Do you ever find that happening in your own life or the life of others? They just kind of repeat themselves. I did an episode recently called, Do You Want to Solve the Problem or Are You Addicted to the Anxiety? And it's kind of the same thing. Like, hey, look, do you want to cut this board or are you addicted to the satisfaction of measuring it? Because measuring it gives you certainty. This is 4.375 inches. Oh, yeah. I'm certain about that. I'm not entirely certain. Maybe I should check. It might be 4.376. And we get addicted to seeking out that absolute certainty. Meanwhile, the guy that's measuring once, cutting twice, he has already chopped up. If we add this up, if we just did side by side, measure twice, cut once, measure twice, cut once, measure twice, cut once. Okay? That's 9 actions, 3 cuts. All right? Now, same thing here. Measure once, cut twice, measure once, cut twice, measure once, cut twice. That's 6 actions in 9 steps. Okay? I've done twice the work in that situation. Even if the first time I did it was wrong, I did twice the work, I got twice the results. And you know what? I'm going to count on my skills and abilities to measure something right the first time. And let's say I'm not 100% accurate on that. There's still a really good chance that I'm going to beat you in the long run because I'm not wasting time going and measuring something again that I already freaking measured and I already understood and I got it close enough. I can make an adjustment if needed. Imperfect action is better than perfect inaction. All the cliches you can think of there. I want to encourage you to measure once and cut twice. And I'll stop short of saying, don't even bother measuring at all. Just whip out the saw and start cutting. That's a little irresponsible. You don't know what kind of results you can get from that. What I will say, though, is find some instance right now, if you're listening to this episode, and this is really resonating with you, find some instance right now in your life where you are measuring twice and that cut never seems to come. You just keep measuring and measuring and measuring. Find that instance. I know that there's something that stands out to you. Maybe it's something in your relationship. Maybe it's something in your job or at your business. Maybe it's a decision that you've been putting off making. Maybe it's going to the gym. Oh, how many times are we go on the internet and look up, like, what's the fastest way to get abs? What's the fastest way to lose 15 pounds? Well, what's the best diet? I want to make sure and do the best. We're measuring again and again and again. Let me just measure this real quick before I make a cut. You want to know the best way to lose weight fast? Cut off your arm. You don't even have to measure it. You will immediately lose like 15 pounds right there. I'm not suggesting you cut off your arm, but I'm saying like, hey, look, that produced a result, right? You didn't have to measure it. You didn't have to research it. You didn't have to contemplate it. Just go and do the thing that's going to produce the result. Go do the thing that's going to make the thing happen that you want to happen. Measure once, cut twice. That's what I got for you today. Now, hey, make sure that you subscribe to our podcast on Apple and Spotify or wherever you may be listening to this on the planet. Really appreciate that. Tell a friend about the Do Zone. Tell somebody that really needs to hear this. Share it on your Instagram stories. Post about it on Facebook. Text it to a friend of yours. This audience only grows because you command it to, because you take the cut and you stop measuring to see if it's worth it. And in the meantime, hey, go do something. See you later.